Okay, good morning, grade nines. Today we're going to have a look at cartoon studies. This is one of the more enjoyable parts of English, one of my favorite parts, should I rather say. And it's got such a good place in society today, and it's got such a good purpose. So let's have a look at it a bit more. So cartoons, they're usually a humorous drawn picture of a situation. Okay, so it's a well-known personality or story. So if you have a look at this cartoon here, okay, we know that in the TV there, the cartoonist, which is SATIRE, has drawn Julius Malema. When things went wrong for him and he was kicked out of the youth party, he was blaming some sort of outside agent, so some sort of group of people that were out to get him, and he described it as the forces of darkness. Okay, and here Zipira has cleverly linked it to ESCOM with its load shedding. So the two people obviously not linking the idea that force of darkness is a group of people that are out to get him, but they comment that it's ESCOM's fault, that he now suggests that it's ESCOM. Okay, so two things are being discussed here. Okay, what was happening with Julius Malema at that time, as well as ESCOM's load shedding. Okay, cartoons are used to express ideas or to draw attention to a situation or well-known personality. Okay, and they often highlight current social or political issues. So they're very relevant and comment on what's happening at that time. So that's why it's always good, if you want to do well in this section, is to know what's going on around the world, so have your news up to date. Okay, to understand cartoons well, you do need to understand what satire is. Okay, and satire is the use of humor, irony, or exaggeration, okay, or ridicule to expose and criticize people's stupidity or vices. Okay, so they often look at politics and issues that are current and relevant, and it's usually issues that are quite serious, but they ridicule these issues, and it's often used with humor. So if you have a look at this cartoon here, that once again Zipira has drawn, okay, he does comment on something serious, being corruption. And we know as South Africans what corruption has done to our economy and our country at large. So here at the Department of Home Affairs, okay, the two ministers there, and the one says it's worse than we thought. Okay, so here is probably a member of the public. He's offering cash to what looks like an official because of the tie that he's wearing and the papers in his hands. And he says there, you've come to fake IDs. Okay, go past pension scams, stop in at bribes. Fake passports is the third door down. You can't miss it. So yeah, Zipira highlights how organized corruption has become, and also how used to it we have become as South Africans. Okay, so it's very organized, it's very structured, and it's almost part of our day-to-day living. So he does highlight here how serious corruption is, but also he uses humor in it. Yeah, the impact of cartoons. Okay, we know Zipira, his cartoons are usually very out there, often gets into quite a bit of trouble, and there really is no one who is safe from his comments. Okay, his cartoons are very impactful in the South African political climate, and he's been through across quite a few newspapers. We know that with Zuma, he often found himself in court over what was drawn. Okay, here's a painting that was done by Brett Murray, titled The Spear of the Nation, and it looked at Zuma and compared him to Lenin. And this painting caused a lot of controversy and a lot of trouble, and it was actually even vandalized in 2012. Okay, it also triggered a defamation lawsuit by Zuma's party, or the ANC. Although it's not really a cartoon, it does also just show the impact that a drawing or a cartoon can have. Okay, Charlie Hebdo. This was a French satirical newspaper, and it really commented on a lot of political and religious leaders and got them into quite a lot of trouble. The cartoon often didn't back off from threats, specifically that from Islamic extremists, especially after their drawings depicting the Prophet Muhammad and its criticism of that. Unfortunately, in 2015, the Al-Qaeda organized an attack on their offices. People armed with rifles and other weapons unfortunately killed 12 people, 11 others were injured. And this was a response to their drawings of the Prophet Muhammad. You can see here, there's a drawing of the Pope as well. Okay, unfortunately, attacks even followed after this. one ending in a kosher supermarket in Paris. So it also, once again, just highlights the impact a cartoonist can have in criticizing and highlighting issues around the world. And obviously also brings into the debate about responsibility in terms of the work that cartoonists do and what's the difference between defamation and freedom of speech. Okay, today if you visit the Charlie Hebdo website, it just says just sweet Charlie, and the idea is that the pen is mightier than the sword, or in this case, the gun. Here's another cartoon that looks at what's happening in schools in and around South Africa. And the first frame says that kids, if you don't work hard this year, you'll end up failing. The second frame, it says they're and killing you, okay, with all the weapons depicted here as well. Okay, at the bottom in the news, South African schools are the most dangerous in the world. Okay, so yeah, once again, a bit of humor, but also highlights the seriousness of what's happening in the schools in South Africa and the violence that is taking place. Okay, when we analyze cartoons, okay, we do need to know a few things and points that we have to work through. So the first thing is that of characters, okay, and are they stereotypes or are they caricatures? So here with Nelson Mandela, this is a caricature. So it has him drawn with his typical Madiba shirt and the Madiba shuffle and the dance that he was known for, as well as his face is caricatured. Okay, stereotypes. Okay, once again, yeah, this image is what I suppose a typical teacher will be seen as or drawn as. So yeah, we know that this person standing in front of the blackboard, neatly dressed, is a teacher. Okay, so do make sure you know the difference between what a caricature is and what stereotype is. Okay, so caricature, a drawing in which a person or action is shown with exaggerated features. Okay, and it's often used to help us identify the audience and even to ridicule. The stereotype, this is once again a fixed, exaggerated, or even a preconceived idea about a specific group of people. So if I had to ask you, for example, describe an American, describe an Australian, describe a South African, we'd all use our preconceived stereotype ideas about how to describe them. Okay, we need to look at the background and setting. So the where and the when, okay, of that specific scene. So he has a one-frame cartoon, okay, drawn by SATIRE. Okay, and at the bottom there says SATIRE, cartoon featuring Nelson Mandela, courtesy of the artist. Okay, on the view at the South African Jewish Museum in Cape Town. Okay, so it says there once again, the next bloody tourist who asks, who's the little old lady with Mandela? Okay, one of the British cops asking there. All right, so once again, humor, looking at the relationship of Nelson Mandela and the Queen, but also just Nelson Mandela's popularity. Okay, the objectives of the cartoon, what is the aim of it? Okay, it can be to inform, to educate, or to entertain. Okay, here is a caricature of Robert Mugabe, the previous president of Zimbabwe. Okay, so his face is very exaggerated, the mustache under his nose is exaggerated, and it says it's all the fault of, and he lists it, media and patriotic whites, gays, America, Britain, expatriates, and obviously that spells Mugabe. So Zapiro here is commenting on how Mugabe always blamed everybody else for what went wrong in his country, and we can see there the smoke and houses burning, okay, destruction of the farms, so the economy that crashed, how everything has gone wrong in that country and how the people are suffering, but also how Mugabe continued to blame everybody else, when in fact it probably was his own responsibility. And Zapiro cleverly highlights that with the word Mugabe. Okay, on the right there, okay, there's three characters here. That pie was delicious. You shouldn't have eaten the whole thing. I didn't get any pie. Okay, so this is really just to be humorous, to be funny. Okay, a cartoon can be a single frame or it can consist of a series of frames. So that's often when a story is being told. Okay, let's have a look at these two here. So the first cartoon at the top here shows a mother with a baby on her back and a little toddler. And you can see by the clothes that the cartoonist has drawn, there's patches there that shows poverty. Okay, and she's looking up at a price of bread, and the shelf is probably too high for her to reach. And there's titled price fixing. Okay, and a few years ago, it was exposed in South Africa that the bread manufacturers were fixing their prices. So they all increased their prices at a certain rate. We know that this is obviously seen as a staple or a cheaper food source for many people. And by them doing that, they put their product out of the reach of the poor, who actually are the ones who rely on it. So quite a serious cartoon, yeah. Also states there below the bread line. Okay, we know that when you live below the bread line, okay, meaning that you probably aren't getting what you need to survive and to live. Okay, so that's quite a serious one there. If we look at a Madam and Eve one, okay, this is a truly South African cartoon. Yeah, they pulled up probably at a robot and says, "Give me $10 or I'll pull the trigger." Okay, and the criminal is pointing the gun at himself. "Thanks, have a nice day." You have to give him points for creativity. Okay, so commenting on the crime in South Africa, but also using quite a bit of humor. And also the desperation of what's happening in our country in terms of poverty. Okay, movement. Okay, this is always indicated by vertical or curved and diagonal lines. So here's a cartoon of Tom and Jerry, and all the lines that are being drawn here by the cartoonist indicate movement and sudden movement. So always have a look out for these lines when you look at a cartoon, because that does show us that movement is happening, and also speed. Okay, speedy action is indicated by streaky lines, often drawn behind the character that's being looked at. Okay, so that indicates that the person's running or moving at quite a pace. Okay, look at the font that is being used and the size of the fonts. Okay, here's also a 4-framed cartoon. It says, "Sorry, madam, this is an exclusive enclosed neighborhood. I can't just let anyone in." Okay, and yeah, they've highlighted the word anyone. Okay, "But I live here," written in bold, capital letters, and larger than the previous font. Okay, obviously indicating a bit of shouting there. Also look at the punctuation. You can see the exclamation marks there have been drawn to show that it's being shouted. Then another lady comes past shouting "Millies." Okay, also exclamation mark showing the volume of it. And there Eve says, "Hi, go ahead in." Okay, so allowing the lady or the busker that sells millies to go through, where the two ladies who live in the street aren't allowed in. Okay, we also know that they actually work for Eve as well. Okay, it says there, Mother Adams says there, "Wait a minute, this is an enclosed neighborhood. You let in the mealy lady." Okay, look there how mealy lady is done in bold. "It's our duty to encourage entrepreneurial spirit." And yeah, obviously she's getting angry. "And mom, remember your blood pressure." Yeah, so obviously also a very funny cartoon, but also on highlighting ideas of closed neighborhoods, security complexes, and also people who are just trying to make a living. Okay, so a few things to remember what you need to look at. So the characters in the cartoon, okay, looking at stereotypes and caricatures, the background and the setting, so the where and the when. How's the language being used? Is it formal? Is it informal? So what's the register? Okay, how are these sentences structured? Look at punctuation, look at the actions, look at facial expressions and symbols, look at lines that show movement and emotion. Consider the objectives, okay, to inform or educate or entertain, okay, to criticize as well. Then look at stereotypes and symbols. Has the cartoonist made the use of a stereotype, or has he or she used any symbols to represent something else? Okay, let's have a look at this cartoon here. Okay, so yeah, we know a teacher's being drawn. Okay, there's a blackboard. Typical, once again, stereotype of a teacher, but she does look very dull, not too excited. Yeah, as a student, and she says the old MacDonald had a farm. That's all. Looking at the bottom of the cartoon, it says nursery rhyme day in Mrs. Tabansi's class in downtown Harare, Zimbabwe. Okay, so what does this cartoon look at and what does it deal with? Okay, so we know the setting. It's indicated by the school desk and board. Okay, the caption refers to class and Harare. When you look at the teacher, she's caricatured by her glasses and neat dress. Okay, the learner's innocence is portrayed with wide open eyes and a cute hairstyle. Okay, the teacher appears tired and hopeless. Okay, there's lines drawn under her eyes. Okay, she has half opened eyes as well. And the issue that's being dealt with is the ground reformation process in Zimbabwe, okay, which brought the economy to its knees. Another cartoon to look at is Calvin and Hobbes, one of my favorite ones. And looking at the words in bold here, okay, indicates volume, so yeah, it's loud, and he is hitting nails and knocking nails into his mom's coffee table. Okay, we know with his facial expression, he's smiling, he's happy. In the second frame, okay, the mom comes running in and shouting, Calvin, we know that with the exclamation mark. What are you doing to the coffee table? And have a look again at the exclamation mark there. Okay, the jagged speech bubble, and bold print and question exclamation marks show that she is shouting. Also look at how her face is drawn. It shows that she's hysterical. Her eyes are wide open, her mouth as well. Okay, so she's also moving at a pace with her arms reached out. Okay, then Calvin sits there with a blank expression, and we see the asterisk there that shows this confusion, or that he's trying to think, what's the issue, Mom? Okay, blank expression, okay, that emphasizes his confusion. In the fourth frame, the mom has her hands on her head. Okay, that just shows despair. And he still can't quite figure out what the issue is, and he says this is some sort of trick question or what. Okay, a bit of child innocence there, but obviously not good. Next cartoon, Madam and Eve. Okay, little Tandy says there, woohoo, thank goodness, Monday is a school holiday. And then the next frame she says, anything to get out of boring homework, huh? Okay, the third frame, homework, who cares about homework with all the school violence this week? I don't want to get stabbed or shot. Another day, alive. Okay, so look at the emotions there. There she's excited, her hands are drawn up, smile. Okay, Mother Anderson has a bit of a grin. Okay, and there obviously she doesn't look too happy with the news about what's happening in Tandy's school. Okay, and we know that Tandy's walked off with the line being drawn here, and that she's now moved away. So when commenting on cartoons, okay, when you answer and respond, all answers should be substantiated with close reference to the cartoon. Okay, so don't make assumptions with the cartoon. Write what you see, explain what you see, look carefully at what the cartoonist has done in his drawing or her drawing. Pay careful attention to the body language of the characters and refer to visible features. So don't just say the character is sad. So you'll say the character is sad because the cartoonist has drawn him or her with a crying face or tears or whatever the case is. Remember that cartoons make use of puns, satire, sarcasm, and irony. Okay, so you do need to bring these different elements into the structure of your answer. And obviously you need to understand what they all are. Okay, and once again, you're going to have these questions all the way up until matric. So it's a good idea to now get it right in grade 9. Right, we're going to then have a look at an analysis of a cartoon and what you should do when you are analyzing a cartoon.